Alright guys, Dad's Home here. We're back with another one. So we're talking about the Nick Cannon situation. You want to
the Nick Cannon situation. So for those of you out there, I hope you're all familiar. Nick Cannon, American actor, comedian, TV show host, rapper, he pretty much
everything.
Seemingly does everything. This
Podcaster.
Podcaster.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, his podcast is quite interesting. Cannon's class. Anyway, this year, so Nick Cannon, he had on January 1st this year, he had 3 children. Right. This year he's been on a bit of a spree. So he's had 4 children this year, and I think by 3 or 4. No, well, it would have to be 4 different women if he's had 4 children this year.
Right.
So, and he's quite bullish about it. So he says that's what he intended, and that's what his aim was. So I guess the topic here for us is obviously Nick Cannon is a multi-millionaire, it might even be a billionaire, but so he can afford to support those children. So from that side of things, financially, all good. But as a father, as opposed to a dad, as a father, or either one, however you look at it, do your kids get the maximum benefit of all you have to offer as a father when you spread yourself so thinly? Now, these children, possibly, I guess Nick Cannon might have them all under one roof. I would doubt it, but even if they are all under one roof, he's a very busy person. He won't be, he's not going to be able to be there in the traditional way that you would say is the traditional way. Is that disadvantaging the children? Is there anything wrong with having that approach? How do we feel about it? What do you feel, Tony?
I think there's only so much you can do as one person. So I think it depends on what kind of father/dad you want to be. So I think when I looked into a little bit of it, or I heard a clip about it, I don't know if he's on like a mission to populate the world or something, or he wants to build a clan. I don't know what it is. Cause I don't know too much about it, but I just see like the headlines here and there. So there's naturally only so much you can do. It's like, I got 3 kids now, and sometimes I worry about, am I giving each kid enough attention type of thing. So you have those type of dilemmas. So from time you start pushing on to 7, 8, 9, 10s or whatever, and especially if you're not all in one household, because looking at it, I don't think they're all together. I think it's separate.
Yeah, I wouldn't
whatever. So it's like, it'll be interesting to know what his agenda is, but ultimately I don't think you can give your kid that much of your attention spread that thin. And especially if you think about America, if let's say one's in New York, one's in Cali, there's only so much you can do. So I think initially it might seem cool for him to do it, but then in the long run you have to worry about what effect and impact does that have on the children, because ultimately are you going into absent father mode? Do you know what I mean? You might financially be there because you're making sure they got a good life and that, but we'd all argue that there's more to it than just financially providing for a child. There's the physically
emotional,
being there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's my only thing about that. But then I see it, like I've got, because is it the fact that it's with multiple women, or is it the number of children? Because imagine you had 7 kids with one woman, would that be an issue? Because that happens.
I don't necessarily. I mean, as long as financially you're able to support that, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. You got 7 kids with one woman. If you've got a strong, tight family unit,
right?
So that
So is it more so than that it's multiple women?
I think it's the multiple women. I mean, to be honest, Nick Cannon, he has it within him to say, right, everyone come and live at my estate in California. Baby mothers, you can all have a side house each, or I'll buy up the street and you can all have. He can do all that.
Right.
But in the long run, the emotional, those kids will have everything they want growing up. I'm sure they'll go to the best schools and this and that. But emotionally, will they feel that connection with their father?
Probably not.
Probably
not. Or in a different type of way, or maybe not as much as, a 2 kids and a dog type of family kind of thing. Because I just ask that because when I think back to my background and I have an uncle, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I swear he had about 30 kids. But he did that thing of, he had like a compound.
Right.
Like a massive,
Right.
and and they all lived there.
Yeah.
Like, until they got of age and whatever. So,
Yeah.
because obviously, again, you know, we link it to the Muslim thing.
Yeah.
You might have multiple wives.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it wasn't. So there was multiple wives, and they each kind of. I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but he did have about. I swear it's about 20, 30 kids, all in one compound by different women, and then there was the original wife, and then. You know, and he lived up. I think he lived up until his late 60s or something like that, and he was still having children.
Well, see, you don't even know. How can you know your dad?
Yeah, so it's
he's
you
like
have
the
name.
CEO of a Fortune
Yeah,
500 or
literally,
something, you know,
literally.
you know.
But it wasn't. I mean, it's not that uncommon in certain cultures. Do you get what I mean? So especially like if you link that part of. Okay, imagine my man now, he's got the resource and he says, okay, all of you ladies come with your children, we're all gonna live on this, I'm gonna buy 10 acres of land and we're all just gonna live here. You know what I mean? So I can see that. Don't the Mormon people do that?
Yeah, in Utah, in America, they can have
Right,
multiple
that's why I watched a
wives. Yeah,
documentary about that and they just bought like an acre of land and
it
they all
happens.
just...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think the dad, because it depends how you look at it, right? Because nowadays, the dad, we're very much, we want to be involved in our children's lives, we're there psychologically, emotionally, and da. But bro, I don't know, if we go back 2 generations, what were the dads like?
Yeah.
Was
true,
it more so
true.
you have a child, the woman takes care of it, and then you're out
True.
literally bringing home the bacon?
I mean, the other
You know
side,
what I mean?
the other side of this is what Nick Cannon is doing. Is that the way things were intended to be? So if we look back at like
Even biblical times, and yeah.
the man was going out laying his seed around.
All around
He was
the
a
place.
hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He wasn't intended to be at home with one woman and, you know, with one family unit.
Changing
He was-
nappies and
Yeah, he was around spreading his seed.
Spreading his seed.
So maybe Nick Cannon's just going back
to what it was.
what it was and what it was intended to be, and we are the ones that have kind of modified and skewed
Yeah.
what was
Woo.
what was originally intended to be
That's how it was supposed to be, bro.
into something else.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
there's definitely something there because that's why I thought back to my uncle and I'm like, rah, actually, you know, but the I think the quote unquote right thing to do would be to take care of them,
Yeah.
quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in my man's situation, my uncle's situation, it was okay. I have and it could have been like a 3-floor story house, like it looked like a building. Kind of thing. It wasn't even like a, you know what I mean? And there was different sections, and that's that wife with her kids, and that's that one with that kids. Bro, like, but it's a whole big, and they're all like siblings, and they're all in there, and it's
But let me ask you
it's all
something.
harmonious.
Would like in another life,
Yeah,
obviously,
go on.
would you want that kind of lifestyle? Like thinking about the connection you have with your kids now.
No,
I
wouldn't want it.
I don't think I would either.
I wouldn't want it, and it's too much drama. Like
Yeah.
I would say, because sometimes me and my miss, well not me and my miss, but other people will talk about, you know, the whole. For example, Muslims can have more than one wife. I'm like, one woman's enough. Like, I can't. You know what I mean? So technically, it sounds great, but it's like, woo.
Yeah.
So, but then also bringing it back on a more serious note, when you have children, like one of the things we think about, even me and my missus with the 3 now, and when we previously thought about should we have more, etc., etc., it's like, well, how much time can I dedicate? You know what I mean? And even from the mother's point of view, she's also thinking that, because it's how much time can you dedicate? Because you've already given up years of your life to sit at home, because obviously we wanted you to stay with your kids, not just put them in childcare, whatever. So that's years. You know what I mean? And then you start to feel guilty because, like, it slightly going off, but same. The first child, I feel, always gets all the attention because they're the first child. Oh my God, they're walking. Oh my God, they can talk.
yeah.
The second child comes along and is like, okay, you can walk. Cool. Your sister did that already.
Yeah,
But then you're trying, you know what I mean? And then the third child comes, then you have like middle child, what's that middle child syndrome or issue?
Yeah.
So it's all of those things, but that all comes back to, are we able to dedicate enough time to said child? And starting to think about, okay, how is that potentially going to affect them in the long run? But then in reality, it's happened for generations before and people crack on. But now when we're more mindful of mental health, self-awareness and mental well-being, etc., etc. So yeah, so how I have it now, I wouldn't change that, no.
Yeah,
but I can see it. I can see how some men would be like, and like you say, he might be going back to how it was originally supposed to be.
Yeah, he might be. Maybe
Interestingly
that's how he
enough.
feels, you know, like, I have the wherewithal, I got the means to take this back to primitive
To
times.
primitive times,
Yeah.
or how it's supposed to, how it's because the Mormons do. I remember watching a Mormon thing, and the guy had like about 3, 4, and they all lived on some farm, and they never left. Like they literally, it was self-contained. They grew their own food. They literally never, you know what I mean? And
I
it's
remember,
like-
I think I was watching one of them, and one of the wives was saying, "Oh yeah, it's really good. I have him on Tuesday, and this one, and the Jews has him on the Thursday."
and it's just like,
right, okay, yeah,
it works. It works. Like, it's like, run with it. You know what I mean? And they're just
Yeah.
bare children.
Yeah.
And then there's also a thing of having a lot of children back home or in kind of poorer nations as well, because there's that, not necessarily multiple women, but even in your one family. Because when they were that poor, the idea was to have more children. One, for a lot died in childbirth, so you have a lot of children anyway. But then also, when you're in that state of poverty, the idea is that one of them kids will be something,
Yeah.
and they can come back and look after the rest of the family. So there's, but yeah, it's interesting. Like my personal granddad, he had 18,
Wow.
I think, and that wasn't with one woman. I know with my nan there was 9, and then there was a couple other women, kind of thing. But they're all hard. Like I know them all. My mum, you know, knows them all, and they all kind of, to some extent, grew up together because he had the means to bring them all together. But I think his one wasn't multiple women at the same time. It was I was married, and then that broke up, and then I did, and then kind of
I
thing.
just wonder as well, for your, was it the uncle that has like 30? Like
Yeah.
when they all live together, do the kids even make friends outside of the
No,
house?
you got everything you need.
You got everything you need right there, man. You want to football,
Yeah, everywhere.
you want to play video games, basketball.
And you're rolling deep, like
Yeah,
no
man.
one's
And
getting
you got your own gang. You know, like, yeah, man.
Do you know what I mean?
You ain't
So
want for nothing.
Yeah, but I think the danger sometimes is, because the good thing about my man, what he's done is he seems like he's proud of all 7 or
He is, yeah.
and you can see him potentially bringing them all together.
Yeah.
One thing I take issue with sometimes is when fathers have multiple kids around the place and the kids don't even know each other.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you make no effort to try and
like just to
let them know who
it's
each other
true,
is,
it's
you know what I mean?
I mean, one thing to say that I have to say about Nick Cannon, this brother, he doesn't seem like a fool.
Right.
He seems quite intelligent.
Yeah.
When you hear him talk, we talked about his podcast
Yeah.
earlier. He does drop some knowledge, and he does read. I think he was doing an MBA at one of the traditionally black colleges
Yeah, I
in
wouldn't be
America.
surprised.
So
Wouldn't
he
be
took
surprised.
his own time out to go back to university at an esteemed university and he did an MBA, and yeah, so he's no fool. So I mean, the flip side of that is someone like, and one of my favorite rappers, but DMX.
Right.
So he had, I think, 18 kids, and he
Right.
died recently. Didn't leave any will, you know. So, you know, now you've got a situation where his family, nobody knows what's what, where, this and that, and you know, I don't think he did bring those kids together. So you've heard a couple of them talk, and they say, you know, they love their dad. When he was around, he was the nicest and this and that. But it's just one of those, like, I wouldn't give up that connection that I have with my children from seeing them every day, being involved in it, you know,
Yeah.
being involved every day at the level that I'm involved at. And you know, you can't, I wouldn't be able to spread myself thin enough to be able to do that for many more children.
I think that's what it is, spreading yourself too thin, and then like you say, where we're at now, where we're fully involved in our children's life, imagining the alternative to that is like, yeah, no, I don't think I'd really want that. So that's an interesting one.